I knew the moment I stepped off the plane that coming here was a mistake. The air felt different in my hometown, heavier somehow, like it was trying to push me back toward the gate. But I'd made it this far. Dad died on Tuesday. Heart attack. No warning, according to my stepsister Vanessa's terse text message. The funeral was Saturday. 4 days to decide whether to come. 4 days to book a last-minute flight that cost more than my rent. 4 days to request emergency leave from a boss who already thought I took too much time off. I hadn't seen Dad in 3 years. Our last conversation ended with him telling me I was making a huge mistake moving across the country for some job. That job became my career. He never called to apologize. I never called to gloat when I got promoted. The taxi dropped me at the funeral home 20 minutes before the service. I stood outside for 5 of those minutes, just staring at the building. Brick, tasteful landscaping, a discreet sign, everything proper and in its place. Dad would have approved. Inside, the air conditioning hit me like a wall. The lobby was already filled with people I half recognized. Dad's golf buddies, neighbors, cousins I hadn't seen since high school. They glanced at me, then away. No one approached. I spotted my stepmother Sandra standing near a guest book, her back rigid in a black dress that probably cost more than my flight. Next to her, my stepsisters Vanessa and Claire huddled together like they were cold. "Hi," I said, stopping a few feet away. "I'm sorry about Dad." Sandra looked at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. "Rebecca, we didn't expect you." No hug, not even a handshake, just those words hanging between us. "I came as soon as I heard," I said. "Well?" She smoothed her already perfect hair. "The family is sitting in the front. There should be room in the back." The family. Right. "When did you get in?" Vanessa asked. Her voice wasn't exactly cold, but it wasn't warm either. "About an hour ago. Came straight from the airport." "You could have called," Sandra said. "We would have told you not to bother." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Claire at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "What Mom means is—" "What I mean," Sandra cut in, "is that your father was very clear about his wishes. He didn't expect you to come, didn't want to put you out." The room seemed to tilt slightly. "Dad said that? That he didn't want me at his funeral?" "Not in those exact words," Claire murmured. "Yes, in those exact words," Sandra snapped. "Why pretend? If Rebecca doesn't care enough to visit when I'm alive, she shouldn't bother when I'm dead." That's what he said. A man in a dark suit approached us. "Mrs. Harmon, we're ready to begin seating the family." Sandra nodded sharply. "We'll be right there." She turned back to me. "You're welcome to stay, of course. Just please respect the seating arrangements." They walked away, a tight trio in black. I stood alone by the guest book, my signature not yet added to the page. I should have left then, should have walked right out and caught the next flight home. But I didn't. I signed the book and found a seat in the back row. The service was everything Dad would have wanted. Dignified, brief. No one cried too loudly. His golf buddy gave a eulogy about Dad's perfect swing and generous spirit. Sandra spoke about their 20 years together. Even Vanessa said a few words about her wonderful stepfather. No one mentioned his first marriage. No one mentioned me. I sat perfectly still, back straight, face blank. The skills I'd perfected as a child in this town served me well. Don't react. Don't draw attention. Just observe and wait for it to be over. After the service, everyone moved to the cemetery. I followed in another taxi, watching the procession of cars ahead of me. At the graveside, I stood apart from the crowd, an outsider, the daughter who left. It started to rain lightly as they lowered the casket. Perfect funeral weather, like the universe was running on cliché that day. I didn't have an umbrella. I just let the water soak into my hair and run down my face. Better than tears. The reception was at Dad and Sandra's house, the house they'd bought after selling my childhood home. I almost didn't go, but something pushed me forward. Maybe curiosity, maybe masochism, Maybe just the simple fact that I hadn't eaten since the airplane pretzels. Their house was exactly what I expected. Large, immaculate, expensive furniture that looked uncomfortable. Photos everywhere. Sandra and Dad on cruises, at parties, with the girls at their college graduations. Not a single picture of me. I accepted a glass of wine from a server and stood near the wall, watching. People moved around me like I was furniture. A few of Dad's old friends nodded in recognition but didn't approach. I overheard snippets of conversation. Such a shame. Never reconciled. Her own choice. My phone buzzed. A text from my boss asking if I needed more time off. I was typing a response when someone touched my arm. Rebecca? I looked up into the face of a man about Dad's age, but softer somehow. Gray hair, kind eyes behind glasses. Yes? Walter Hoffman. I was your father's attorney. He offered his hand, and I shook it automatically. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you, I said, the words feeling strange in my mouth after hours of silence. I've been hoping to speak with you, he said, voice lowered. Would you have time to stop by my office tomorrow? Say 10 o'clock? I glanced around the room, at all the people who'd known my father better than I had for the past 20 years. Is there a problem? No, no problem. Just some matters that need your attention. He handed me a business card. Your father's instructions were very specific. I tucked the card into my pocket. I'll be there. He nodded and moved away, leaving me alone again with my wine and my thoughts. The reception dragged on. I stayed longer than I should have, nursing that single glass of wine, watching Sandra receive condolences like a queen granting audiences. Eventually, the crowd thinned. I slipped out without saying goodbye. My hotel was downtown, a mid-range chain with nothing to recommend it except its location 15 minutes from the airport. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, staring at Walter Hoffman's business card. Dad's instructions were very specific. What did that mean? I slept poorly that night. Dreams of Dad kept waking me. Not nightmares, just ordinary moments. Dad teaching me to ride a bike. Dad awkwardly trying to braid my hair after Mom died. Dad standing in our driveway as I drove away to college, neither waving nor calling me back. In the morning, I showered and dressed carefully in the one business outfit I'd packed. The law office was in an old converted house downtown, the kind of place that exuded quiet wealth and discretion. Walter Hoffman met me at the door himself. Thank you for coming, Rebecca. Right this way. His office was lined with books, the desk large but not showy. He gestured to a chair and took his place opposite me. Again, I'm very sorry about your father, he said, opening a folder. Thank you. I've been your father's attorney for 30 years. I handled his divorce from your mother, helped him set up his business, and eventually managed his estate planning. He looked at me over his glasses. He spoke of you often. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. I'm sure yesterday was difficult, he continued. Your father predicted it might be. Did he? Yes. In fact, he left specific instructions about how things should be handled. He pulled out a document. This is your father's will. He revised it 6 months ago. He slid the papers across the desk. I hesitated before taking them. I'll summarize, Walter said. The will is quite straightforward. Aside from a few small bequests, you are your father's sole heir. The words didn't make sense at first. They just hung in the air between us. I'm sorry. What? The house, his investment accounts, the vacation property in Michigan, his share in the business, all of it goes to you. That can't be right, I said. Sandra is provided for separately through life insurance and joint accounts that pass to her directly. But the bulk of the estate, approximately $4.2 million in total assets, is yours. My hands were shaking. Why would he do this? Walter opened another folder and removed an envelope. He left this for you. I took it. My name was written on the front in Dad's blocky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The photo was old, yellowed at the edges, me at about 10, sitting on Dad's shoulders at a baseball game, both of us smiling, my hands resting on top of his head. I remembered that day. Mom had been gone just over a year. I turned the photo over. On the back, Dad had written, "The only one who didn't need to be there, but came anyway." The letter was brief. Rebecca, if you're reading this, it means you came to say goodbye. I know we didn't speak much these last years. That's on me more than you. I told everyone I didn't expect you to come to my funeral. What I meant was that I didn't deserve it. You built your own life without my help or approval. I respect that more than you know. The others have always had their hands out. You're the only one who never asked for anything, so I'm giving you everything. There are copies of this photo for everyone else. Different message on the back for them. I was proud of you. Should have said so. Dad. I read it 3 times before looking up. Walter was watching me, his expression gentle. I don't understand, I said finally. Your father was a complicated man, Walter replied. He didn't always express himself well, but he was very clear about his wishes. What about Sandra? The girls? As I said, Sandra has the life insurance, quite substantial, and their joint accounts. The girls each receive a trust fund he established years ago. But the will specifies that you control the family assets. They'll contest it. Walter shook his head. They can try, but it won't go far. Your father was very methodical. He had a psychiatric evaluation 6 months ago to establish his competence. The will is ironclad. My phone buzzed in my purse. Then again, and again. I think, Walter said with a small smile, that Sandra may have just been informed. I should have felt something then. Triumph, maybe. Vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. What happens now? I asked. Now, we begin the process of transferring everything into your name. It will take some time. There will be papers to sign, decisions to make about the properties. I nodded slowly. Can it be done remotely? I need to get back to work. Most of it, yes. I'll need you to come back for some signatures, but we can work around your schedule. My phone was still buzzing. I pulled it out and saw 12 missed calls. Sandra, Vanessa, Claire. Unknown numbers that were probably Sandra's friends or relatives. They'll want to talk to me, I said. That's up to you, Walter replied. You don't owe them anything. I gathered the will, the letter, and the photo, and put them back into the envelope. Thank you for your time. Of course. And Rebecca? For what it's worth, your father changed a lot in his final years. He regretted the distance between you. I nodded again, not trusting myself to speak. Outside, the day was bright and clear. I walked several blocks before checking my phone again. 23 missed calls now, 7 voicemails, dozens of texts. I didn't open any of them. At a small cafe on Main Street, I ordered coffee and sat by the window. I had a flight booked for tomorrow morning. I could change it, leave today. Or I could stay, face Sandra and the others, try to explain something I didn't understand myself. I took out the photo again. Dad and me at the baseball game. I remembered how the crowd had roared when our team hit a home run. How Dad had lifted me higher on his shoulders so I could see better. How simple things had been then. My phone rang again. Sandra. I watched it ring until it stopped. Then I called my boss. I'll be back tomorrow, I told her. Thanks for understanding. I turned off my phone and put it away. For the rest of the day, I walked around my hometown, past my old school, the park where Dad taught me to throw a baseball, the ice cream shop where we used to go on hot summer days. That night, I packed my suitcase and laid out clothes for the morning. I didn't turn my phone back on. At the airport the next day, waiting for my flight, I finally powered it up. 46 missed calls, 13 voicemails, too many texts to count. I deleted them all without listening or reading. Then I sent one text to Sandra. I'm leaving town. Walter Hoffman has my contact information for any legal matters. Goodbye. On the plane, the flight attendant offered me a drink. I asked for water and stared out the window as my hometown grew smaller beneath me. Dad's letter was in my carry-on. So was the photo. I'd need to figure out what to do with $4 million and two houses I didn't want. But not today. Today, I just watched the clouds and thought about that baseball game. How Dad had bought me a foam finger and a hot dog. How we'd cheered until we were hoarse. How it had been one perfect day in a long string of imperfect years. I didn't cry on the flight home. Not when I took a taxi to my apartment. Not when I climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my door, or when I dumped my suitcase on the bed. But that night, alone in my kitchen, I took out the photo again. Me and Dad, both smiling. And I finally let the tears come. I cried for the little girl on her father's shoulders, for the relationship that broke under the weight of stubbornness and pride, for the man who couldn't say he was proud of me until he was gone. In the morning, I got up and went to work, the photo tucked safely in my desk drawer. Life went on. It always does. I never called Sandra back, never responded to the increasingly desperate texts from my stepsisters. Let Walter handle it all from a distance. Dad left me everything because I was the only one who didn't need to be there, but came anyway. The only one who showed up without expecting anything in return. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was about being seen, finally, by the one person who had always looked right through me. Too little, too late. Maybe, but I came. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered.